Drawing has always been more than just a hobby for me. It's my sanctuary, a way to express what words often can't. My name is Harper, and at school, I'm somewhat of an art legend. Not in a boastful way, but more like the person everyone comes to for anything that requires a creative touch. Banners for events, posters for clubs, you name it. If it's art, I'm the one they seek. One day, I was deep in concentration, working on designs for our school's upcoming cultural program. That's when Jay, a classmate from my art class, approached me. We'd never really spoken much before, despite both of us spending hours lost in our own canvases. "Need a hand with that?" he asked, his eyes scanning the banner I was working on. There was a warmth in his voice that caught me off guard. Before I share the rest of my story, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to Out of a Book. So, where was I? Yeah, Jay. As I hesitated, Jay's offer echoed in my head. "Maybe we could try something new." It was a simple suggestion, but it felt like a leap into unknown territory for me. I've always clung to my art as a solitary refuge, yet something about his earnestness made me nod. "All right, let's see what you've got," I said, more to myself than to him. Working side by side with Jay was a revelation. "What if we add a bit of blue here? Might make it pop," he suggested, pointing at a section of the banner. His ideas were fresh, different from my usual style. Blue. I was thinking more green, but let's try it your way, I replied, curious about this new perspective. I found myself chuckling at his jokes, something I hadn't done in a long while, especially in the art room. "You know, I've always admired your work. It's cool to be doing this together," Jay said as we mixed paints. His words warmed a corner of my heart I didn't know was cold. "Thanks, Jay. I guess two heads are better than one sometimes," I admitted. The afternoon slipped into evening, and our collaboration transformed the banner and subtly the way I viewed my art. It wasn't just mine anymore. It was a shared creation, a blend of two visions. And surprisingly, I was okay with that. After several afternoons spent together working on the art project, something shifted between Jay and me. It wasn't just about the art anymore. We were getting to know each other on a deeper level. One day, as we were cleaning up the brushes, Jay turned to me with a hesitant but hopeful look. "Harper, I was wondering if you'd like to go out sometime. Like, not just for art," he asked, a bit awkwardly. I was surprised, but in a good way. "I'd like that," I replied, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Our first date was simple but perfect. We walked through the local park, talking about everything and nothing. It felt natural, easy, like we'd been doing this for years. With Jay, I could be myself, and that was a new and wonderful feeling. Fast forward to the day of the cultural program. Our project was a hit. The banner we created together was more than just a piece of art. It was a symbol of our partnership. The crowd loved it, and amidst the applause, I caught Jay's eye, sharing a moment of pride and joy. That night, after the success of the cultural program, where our banner was the center of attention, Mr. Sterling approached me. He was a well-known figure in town, a billionaire known for his investments in young talent. He complimented our work, particularly noting my unique style. "I'm impressed, Harper. Your talent is exceptional. How would you like to work on some exclusive projects for me?" he asked, his tone friendly and encouraging. The offer took me by surprise. It was the kind of opportunity I had only dreamed of, a chance to make a name for myself in the art world. "I'd be honored, Mr. Sterling." I answered, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. This felt like the beginning of a new chapter, an adventure waiting to unfold. Starting work with Mr. Sterling initially felt like stepping into an artist's dream. The projects were exclusive, the creativity flowing, but as days turned into nights, the reality of what I'd signed up for began to dawn on me. Things got a bit strange with Mr. Sterling. He told me one night, Harper, your art will really come alive if you work late into the night. That's when true creativity wakes up. And then he dropped a bombshell about keeping my work secret. For now, let's keep your art anonymous, like a ghost artist, he said. Hearing that made me uneasy. My art out there without anyone knowing it's mine? I tried to convince myself it was just a short-term thing. I asked Mr. Sterling about my pay. So, what's my cut from the sales? His answer was a shocker. Just a small bit, he said. A small bit? But I've put in so much work. I couldn't believe it. Mr. Sterling just shrugged and said, you signed up for this, Harper. Remember your contract. That hit me hard. I felt trapped, like I was stuck in a deal that wasn't fair at all. Juggling school, my secret art job, and hanging out with Jay was really tough. One day, Jay looked at me all worried and said, hey Harper, you alright? You're kind of out of it lately. I really wanted to tell him everything, to get it off my chest, but I was scared of getting in trouble because of that contract I signed. Working late on Mr. Sterling's project started to feel really eerie. One night, I was totally into my painting and suddenly I felt this weird chill. I stopped and looked around. Okay, Harper, breathe, I told myself. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something move past the window. Was that a shadow? Or am I seeing things? My heart was racing. It's probably just a car passing by, I thought, trying to shake off the fear. The weird stuff didn't stop. It kept going on, night after night. I kept seeing these shadows out of the corner of my eye and hearing strange noises that weren't just the house creaking. The scariest was this rustling sound, like someone was standing right there, moving around. Every time I'd spin around real quick to check. Who's there? I'd ask, my voice all shaky, but no one was ever there. It was just me, all alone. This sense of being watched started to seep into my days as well, a feeling of eyes on me as I walked to school, the prickling sensation on the back of my neck as I sat in class. After the late night of working on the painting for Mr. Sterling, I barely made it through my school test the next morning. My mind was foggy, my thoughts still lingering on the canvas and colors back home. But when I returned, my heart sank. The painting was ruined, splattered with paint, a deliberate act of sabotage. Panicking, I called Mr. Sterling, explaining the disaster. His response was cold and threatening. You'll have to compensate for this, Harper, and think about what your mother would say. My hands trembled as I dialed my mom's number, but she didn't answer. Fear gripped me. Then, out of nowhere, Mom walked in, earlier than usual. I got fired today, she said, her voice heavy with defeat. My heart dropped further. That's when Mr. Sterling called again, his voice oozing satisfaction. See what I did? You have until the end of the day to finish the painting. I couldn't understand why he was doing this to us. As soon as I walked into school, something was off. Everyone was congratulating me, and I had no idea why. Harper, you're amazing, one classmate said. What did I do? I thought, totally confused. Then Jay came up, all smiles. "Harper, you got a scholarship to the biggest college because of your painting," he told me. I was completely stunned. "I didn't even apply. Which painting?" I asked, trying to make sense of it all. "Everyone knows, Harper. You've made us all proud," Jay said, still smiling. I rushed to the notice board, only to find that the painting being celebrated was the same one that had been ruined. How could this be? Despite my confusion, Jay urged me to be happy about the scholarship. On my way home, all set to fix that painting for Mr. Sterling, I couldn't shake off this eerie feeling that someone was watching me. I quickly turned around, and there it was, a shadowy, ghost-like figure, barely visible, but unmistakably there. A jolt of fear ran through me, and in that moment, everything around me just faded to black. The next morning, I was rudely awakened by the doorbell. It was Mr. Sterling at my door, demanding the painting in a voice that sent chills down my spine. But as he was talking, out of nowhere, a bucket of paint tipped over and splashed all over him. He was livid, yelling as he stormed off. I watched from the window as he got into his car. Just then, his phone rang. I could tell from the way he answered and his shocked reaction that something big had happened. Later, I found out his office was being raided for illegal activities. Stunned and full of questions, I followed Mr. Sterling outside. That's when I saw Jay. "Jay, what are you doing here?" I asked, totally confused. Jay had a serious look on his face. "Harper, there's something you need to know," he began. "I've been looking out for you. All those shadows and noises, that was me." I couldn't believe it. You? Why? He sighed. "I knew something was off with Mr. Sterling. I wanted to keep an eye on you, make sure you were safe. You're not the kind to ask for help, so I stayed in the shadows." It all started making sense. The mysterious figure, the feeling of being watched. It was Jay all along. He'd been my protector, keeping me safe from whatever Mr. Sterling was planning. Now, with the police raiding Sterling's office, it looked like his shady dealings were coming to an end.